What's up, Craig? How you doing, man?
OG Mike, it's always a pleasure to be here with you, bud. I look forward to these. It's kind of like my therapy. I enjoy being with you. What we got tonight, pal? What's on
Oh
the
man,
agenda?
hey, I appreciate you being here, and man, I think we
Oh,
got one that everybody can appreciate. First,
okay.
we'll get into a little bit about immigration, migration of
Wow.
the Italian Sicilian culture coming over,
Yeah,
and then I
absolutely.
think we'll transition into a little bit of the fashion influence they may have had and what they had when they got here, man. I think it was different.
Absolutely.
All
Oh,
right,
yeah,
man.
great topic. I like it.
Awesome, awesome, man. Yeah, last time we had a great one, man. We talked about
Yeah.
food. We talked about, manja. We talked about
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of things.
so I mean, I guess starting off, man, let's talk
Yeah.
about where did your family come in, man? Where did they come into?
Whew. Okay, so from all that I can remember, I heard the story sitting with my grandmother, grandfather, and then of course hearing those stories passed down through my aunts, my father, and whatnot, uncles, aunts. That way, um, I would say I'm going to say they got here in as young children. They were young, my grandparents, when they got here to New York, Ellis Island. They came through Ellis Island. Um, I guess that made their decision easier as far as coming to New York. It was a crazy flight. For them as well as everybody. But their particular cases, my grandfather went, I don't know how long before he went right into an orphanage. Um, and his dad was, you know, more or less nowhere to be found. Um, and my grandfather was one of 10. So I, I don't want to be off, and it's not like because I like to be accurate, but I believe four of the five boys went into an orphanage. He was that my grandfather for sure, obviously, because I knew a lot of those, personally those stories, and my grandmother as well. But they, of course, they were children. They met here in New York. Um, but they got here young. I'm going to say 8 years old. So that would probably put us back into let's see, my dad is born in 1936. So we're probably talking, 1912, 14, something like that.
Right.
Circa areas, and yeah, but yeah, grandfather, they got here, whatever amount of time they spent at Ellis Island. Um, and he went as a young boy, went right into an orphanage, and he was in an orphanage for a good amount of his youth. He settled in East Harlem. My grandmother happened to settle in East Harlem with her family. Um, I believe they came here with family members on my grandmother's side and grandfather, but my grandfather did not come here with his mother or his father. Now,
Mm,
his mom came a little bit later. It was really the siblings came here, young children just being put on a ship by themselves.
isn't that
And
something,
it
man?
would, right, and it wouldn't be, out of the norm. This isn't, many would understand that because that's what they were heard. They heard. And for those out there that are old enough that, you know, were part of that are still here, that might hear this, they'll understand it fully. And as for young children just to be put on these boats to get out of Italy,
Right.
Sicily, wherever they were coming. In this case, um, just the lower part of the boot, not as far as Sicily, but the Naples area. And Napoli was tough, or the South, Southern Italy in general was tough, and but that was their flight, and arriving here in early 1900s, and then connecting, I guess, as teenagers in Upper Manhattan, Upper East Side, which was East Harlem,
Uh-huh.
and where they went from there. But my grandfather came directly,
Through Ellis
from
Island.
through Ellis Island, both of them, and orphanage, and then from there, life.
Well, as far
Uh,
as Ellis Island, man, so when we talked last time, we talked about it a little bit. So my grandpa, he came through he went down south because he had one brother that had already went to Venezuela, and
Right.
he went through there first, came up through, somehow ended up to Cuba, and then came up from Cuba to Florida. Came in through, you know,
Amazing.
it really is. But see, his brother now, this is his brother. Now, this is
Wow.
his immigration picture. This was Luigi, my Uncle Louis. Now,
Great person.
I mean, one thing I want to say is, okay, so this is his immigration picture. This is after this was when he got naturalized, became a citizen, right?
Mm,
But what I want to talk about with Ellis Island a little bit is, so we have his Ellis Island picture also, right? And they
hmm
shaved his head when he got there. So they would shave at the time he went, and he was 16 when he came over. He had to
Gotcha.
burn his birth certificate because he came with his brother. He wasn't old enough to travel, like that. So he burned his birth certificate on the age part and said he
hmm
was older than what he was to be able to get in, you know.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and
They
so,
did. They played a lot of. In this case, your uncle had to change some things, but they took it upon themselves, and all whether it be Ellis Island or all these other ports that all the Italian immigrants came from, our ancestors came from. They played. I can only speak again of you know what I was told personally with my last name inherited in
mhm,
my family. Um, they played some games with the last name, and
sure, a lot of people's got
so
changed, huh?
yeah, yeah, and you know, to go back all those years and prove it, I know, like from what my mom tells me, uh, my grandfather for many years, because she used to take him uh, early on, when she got my dad, to go try to find out why this, why that, because he knew something different, and it wasn't with an O, but it is what it is. Here, if you go back, and it's really a history lesson, you'd have to go. You could. So I guess to my 20s, 30s, so I got curious, and I started to look up for basically in that part of Italy, um, Gatto, Gatto, the way it's spelled, the way it's really spelled. Um, and you'll find that there was so many. This is just happens to be the Gatto name. There's so many derivatives. There's so many different names in Italy that were changed in America to Gatto. And I mean, I could give you some of them: Gattuso, Delegati, Gatti,
Mm.
Gatti,
Yeah,
right? Um, and some really long names. And again, you'd say Gattuso. How do you get Gattuso Gatto? They did what they wanted. Now, again, I'm not here saying. I just know that there was some issues, and it wasn't only with last names too. They played some games with
sure,
first names.
right.
They wrote my grandfather's birth certificate, his paperwork up, and they changed it from Joseph to John.
Mm.
And he was like he wasn't having it. And long story short, so there was some issues, but I don't want to take us down another road, but yeah,
That's
it's
a great
crazy.
point, though. Yeah,
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 it
for
just made
sure,
me
man.
think of it. When you started talking about it, it made me think of the stories that I know for a fact, hearing them from my mother, my grandfather, some from my grandfather, but a lot from my mother because she was there firsthand. She would take them to court to fight, you
Mm.
know, and hear my
Wow,
grandmother
man.
tell her, yeah, about the
Man,
names.
that's a really good point that you brought up, man. Very important, man.
Because it happened with millions of people. I mean, we weren't the only ones, right?
Right. I know a lot of people who, on their own, changed their names
Right, right.
and to try to Americanize more.
Absolutely, yeah.
I knew some people named Casciola who named changed their last name to Cash, so it wouldn't have
Really,
the vowel at the
right.
end, and you know what I mean, to try
Because
to.
it was harmful. It was harmful in a lot of ways. Like in the movies, you were typecasted. Well,
Right.
that'll hurt you, for a period of time. And I'm not even talking about mob shit. It just hurt you,
Sure,
immigrant
because
wise.
right, because you're an immigrant. That's it,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You're
And
not from here. You're not. Your name sounds foreign or whatever. And yeah,
look at Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood in itself.
yeah,
I mean, how many
sure.
of these stage people? It wasn't because there was a long last name. No, they changed their last name because they didn't want that stigma or whatever stigma came with that the vowel.
Dean Martin.
And right, Dean Martin, Bobby Darin. I mean, it's endless. It's
Oh,
endless, right?
sure. Right,
It's
right, right.
endless.
No, I got you, man. One, that's
Yeah,
why it's such a great point that you brought that up. And I guess with the Ellis Island, what I wanted to say too was, man, it wasn't just a cakewalk of coming through here and you're just everything's all good and you're cool, man. I mean, it was like I said, they shaved my great uncle's hair, but just in case you have lice, you're quarantined for however long. There was a pretty good process, and he was a young. Think of it, man, as a young teenager going through that.
prison for children or how old you are, and even worse, there was abuse going on in these places. Come on,
Oh, sure, definitely,
you
man,
know,
and then you have to deal with society after that.
yeah,
But
you had
you know what I'm saying? You got to deal. You got to deal with everybody else. You're not.
absolutely,
It's not just
absolutely.
that's what I mean. Now I want to like what they brought with them as far as dress, clothing, how they dressed
Yeah,
once they were here. These
right.
guys, man, it was different. I was talking with my brother the other day, and he told me my grandpa never owned a pair of tennis shoes, man.
Thank you. I believe it. I
You know
believe
what I
it.
mean? Never had sneakers. Didn't have leisure wear. He didn't have
Imagine.
sweats or
Huh?
a polo or
Slacks and shoes. That's what they know.
everywhere,
It's
man.
crazy. Yeah,
Everywhere he went, that
yeah,
was his. I'm going to show you this one picture, man.
yeah. I love it. Shows it at least
Check this out. Now this
on the
this
beach.
is on the beach, man. You'll notice. I think that's one of his brother-in-laws sitting there next to him. Now this is on the beach, man. I don't know what the temperatures were, but it gets hot in
Yeah,
Texas. This guy's got on
absolutely.
slacks. Probably that's my sister he's holding. That short
Yeah,
sleeve shirt, man, is probably about as casual as he got. I
well,
mean, and listen, he wasn't like working in some Fortune 500 doing business. You know, what I mean, he was a
yeah,
grocery store owner at some time. He
yeah.
stuff
Working
like
man.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
that was the dress.
I mean, as a kid, I remember. I mean, now I'm a kid, but yeah, there's pictures of my that is my grandfather. You know, that was one of the more. That was a family function. I remember that. I was young. But that was a family function. That's my uncle there. It's my
That's
uncle
a
Louis
great
there.
photo, man. Look at that, man. Check out the style, man. Check
Yeah,
it out.
that's probably I'm gonna say early to mid '70s. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess because I remember that's at my aunt's house in Rockland County.
Uh huh.
Um, but most of the stuff I remember, my grandfather was always like. I remember seeing pictures of him laying bricks with shoes on. He had
Gotcha.
dress shoes and slacks on. They were laying brick. You
That
know what I mean?
that's what I'm saying, man. It was just a different world as far as clothing went. I mean, there was no. I mean, there was other people I'm sure wearing t-shirts, this, that, and the other, man. But these,
Absolutely.
I mean, do you think it was just a cultural thing that was ingrained in them that you want to dress this way
Yeah,
or
I believe it's. Yeah, I do. I believe it's what they knew. It's what they saw from where they were from. So until it became not the my fault. Yeah, now my dad here, he was, different time, different, he was a Manhattan guy, born Manhattan. You know what I mean? So, um, he didn't wear dress slacks and dress shoes to go shovel concrete when he was in construction. Um, he was a suit and tie or a slacks guy with whatever kind of shirt he was wearing and jewelry. Always, certain types of jewelry, whatever, by choice,
mm-hmm.
or by that's what he saw growing up in home. So you become that product of what your environment is, right?
Right.
So I'm sure if everybody wore um, jumpsuits, he would have been wearing a jumpsuit all the time. But now it's not that he walked around in a suit and tie all the time, but it would be normal to see my dad was, I watched him.
Dressed
Yeah, he always dressed. Yes, I do physically.
of doing what you doing your labor. Well,
Right.
see, so I'll say that
The other side.
by the time my dad was
Mhm.
you know had me and everything, he had me later on
Mhm.
in life and stuff, and I see him.
Right.
He was a pretty casual dude, for the most part.
Yeah.
He wasn't into being dressed up much like that. When he was younger, he
Right.
did, but as he got older, he didn't. Whereas my grandpa,
Yeah.
every picture I ever saw him,
Yeah.
ever, even in the
I
house
think,
sitting around.
but I think that's how. Again, I think that's what they knew from the other side, and that's what they dressed here. We called them zips. The Italian Americans, we would always argue with them, especially in construction. They always had it in for us. We always felt, uh, you think it is, what it's saying, well, come on, we're not, no, they used to be mad. They used to be mad at us because they felt you have the world by the balls. You're born in this country. Everything is given to you. You can get an education. You can get all of these great things. Why do you want to be in construction? Now, some would say, they're just jealous that you're making as much money as them. Maybe some of them did feel that way, and maybe some of them did care. No different than my father saying get an education and go to school. But you know what I mean? So
Right,
there was a lot to that. But I do think it's your product of your what you see growing up. No
right.
different than you know
Yeah, I
choosing different paths.
it's just very it just
It's crazy
always
though. It's
stuck
crazy.
out to me. Like, here's one. This is
Yes.
that's the same one. That's my great uncle there, my cousin Louis. uh Both of them
I
named
love it.
Louis. That in fact, that's his garden behind him. Some of his garden he had, and his fig trees in the back. But anyway, this is a picture. Like, okay, so Uncle Louis was, by the time, he's probably, who knows how old here, in his 60s, I guess, at least. um maybe 50s or 60s. But anyway, he, that type of shirt, that was probably about as relaxed as it, that he would go gardening in that. Like, for
You
me,
know,
I'm putting a t-shirt on.
absolutely. Yeah, look at me. And, what's funny? Everybody like I see Louis was a very common name in your family.
Yes.
Everybody was a Louis. I think the last time we spoke, I said there's a lot. Everybody was a Joe in my family. A lot of Joes.
Right.
But that one picture I showed you that you put up with my grandfather, that's him with his brother, my uncle Louis. So I just
Is
thought
that right, man? His
that's
name.
absolutely correct. Louis,
Oh,
yes, Louis.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Let me find that picture again, man. I got it
yeah,
right here, man.
yeah. That's my uncle Louis.
Wow, that's Louis. See, that's the
Yeah,
thing. So I had cousins, Joe. Okay, the brother that
yeah.
came with Louis, his
Yes,
name was
yes,
Joe.
yes.
His
Yeah.
name was Joe Giuseppe.
That's crazy.
Joseph.
That's
Yeah.
and
Yep.
everybody in my family. Yeah, it's
Isn't
exactly.
that something, man? Louis just, here.
And again, 1,800 miles apart, but a lot of things are the same, brother.
You know how many Anthony's, bro? Holy
Yeah,
cow.
that's right.
There you
Michael,
go.
Anthony,
So
yeah,
that's
Uncle Louis.
Uncle
That's
Louis.
Joe and Louis. Right, that's right. Giuseppe and
Wow.
Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. That and as far, man, we'll have to go into names one day. Good God.
Oh, we
Yeah. So
can.
my dad's name was
It's
Anthony.
endless.
My brother's name is Anthony. His dad, my grandpa's name was. It's like it's
Endless.
endless, man. It's endless. So here's one, man, and then we can transition into like
Yeah,
modern
whatever.
fashion and
Yeah.
stuff too, man, and
Oh,
and the
man.
effects or whatever of and
Absolutely.
or the influence of Italians on that.
Mm,
But so this is some type of casual. Who knows? I mean, you see the little skyline in the back. It's
that's
probably
right.
some type of Six Flags type place or something, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So that's my Uncle Sal and his son Chicho. They came from Sicily
So,
to visit.
uh,
And so you see how they're dressed, man. I mean, they're
unbelievable.
who knows how hot it was.
Yeah.
Who knows,
Yeah.
whatever. Now
And
Chicho was
didn't
younger,
matter.
so
It
yeah.
didn't matter how hot it was to them.
No,
You know what I mean? That's what
no.
we wear. That's what we wear.
That was it.
That's
That was
beautiful,
it.
man. It's priceless. Those pictures are priceless, man. They really
Thank
are.
you. They do mean, they mean a ton to me. Like,
Great
this is
pictures.
just a card game, man, around the house. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where they came from or whatever, if they came from
Yeah.
church or did something, but they
The
were
cards.
dressed.
Get the cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, man. It looks like either my aunt or my
we
grandma's
got
up
a
there
card
getting
game going.
coffee or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like with my dad, I told you he was more casual or whatever, but
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got
Yep.
him into Adidas suits, and
Yes, there we
uh,
go.
my
Oh,
daughter
that's
would
so,
chunk a scarf on him or something, and
that's
he
cool,
took to
man.
that, man. That was his thing after that, you know. But
That's
anyway,
awesome.
it's
That's
just
awesome.
endless pictures of these guys with
Yeah.
dress clothes
Dress
on,
code.
man. You know,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
forever. And I think fashion or dress or style was important to them. I think maybe they thought people took them more serious if they were. What do you
Yeah,
think, man?
yeah, I don't know. That's a great point because I used to hear that to that to that extent, basically. Um, like I remember my old man saying to me, he'd be flat broke. Exact words. I I'd be flat broke. I didn't have 5 cents in my pocket. He would say, and growing up in Holland, teenager. He said, but you didn't know it. You know why? Why was that? He said because he goes, I had a suit and tie on, and I looked the way a man is supposed to look. I looked, meaning like I looked
Respectable is what my grandma
exactly,
used to say.
exactly. That's the word. Yeah, it is the word. And just because I'm broke, maybe it's call it whatever you want. I don't need to let the rest of the world know I don't have 10 cents. So you're
Right.
not going to judge me because I'm out here with holes in my sneakers or I look like this or that or anything. And some might say, oh, that you're monetary. No, it was just a self respect they had. He had, and he refused. And he told me, he said, I have 10 cents, two nickels to rub together, as he would say. And I have
Hmm.
two nickels and have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of.
Yep.
That was one of his sayings.
Sure.
But you wouldn't know it because I guess everybody he saw dressed and looked the part. He goes, and not two nickels, but you wouldn't know it by the way I was dressed or my appearance was. And that's where the shaving came into the clean shaven and just
Right.
looking clean, just being looking the part. I
That's my
love that.
grandma and my grandpa. I never, you know what? I'll take that back. When he was in Sicily, he had a mustache for a while. I remember that must have been a common thing there because I think his dad had one too. Had a picture of him,
Yeah,
but once he was here, that's my great grandpa in the middle, grandpa on one side with the suit, and Uncle Lewis on the other side. But
no,
that always, man. I'm telling you, man. I one more. Let me show you.
no,
This
I
is
love it.
in the
Oh,
house, man.
that's
He's
your
just
dad.
in the
That's your
house.
dad.
That's my grandpa, man. That's his dad.
Wow.
Isn't that
And if
something? Look just like him.
that, yes, oh my man, that picture you had of your dad in the car with the scarf.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks like his
Look
twin.
just like it. They actually did, man. They really looked identical. And my dad, young man, he was into the suits and stuff, and my mom. But that's my great grandpa, his brothers. My grandma's one of those little ones there, man. This is once they finally came to Houston. They built that was their
What?
store and home.
Ah, that's beautiful. Right. So that was your store, right? Imagine that, and
Right,
you hear that a lot. So you lived there, you worked, everything was there, and I'd love
right.
to know how many people lived there. That's your
Probably
family.
most of that family. Probably most of
That's
them. My uncle was born upstairs there. He was
that's
born. My
beautiful.
dad's brother was born in that house upstairs. Like 14
Incredible.
pounds, man. They're out there just. I guess
That's
I'm
a beauty.
again. It's the clothes, man. I'm telling you, slacks. You know, there's a horse there.
Yes,
They
yeah, they
got a
just throw
damn
it out.
horse.
Mike, I
Yeah,
love that picture. That's awesome. And Mike, did they built that? They built that.
they brought the builder with them
Mm-hmm.
from this. That's the my side that came through Louisiana, right through New
I love it.
Orleans.
Love
So
it.
they brought a builder with them there. When they said, "Hey, we're going to Texas," they go, "You want to go with us?" And this guy goes, "Yeah, I'll go with you. You know, I'd be happy to, man. We'll go there and settle." They come there, and this guy built a bunch of places for him to have his rent homes. You know, and
That's
they would
great. That's
that's what
beautiful.
they would do. It's insane, man. But I can't imagine going to another country and being able to thrive like that. But they did,
They
but
made it happen, Mike. They
th-
made it happen.
they did, man. But
One made it
it's
happen.
yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, look at you, man. I mean, you're how many
No, you
steps
make it
removed
happen.
from that, from where
Yeah,
you live and to where they came in. Think about that, man. And let you know, I
absolutely.
mean,
It's
when you let
crazy.
that sink
It's
in,
baffling. It's baffling. It's
right?
really, it's
It is.
it's
You're right there.
mindful. It's a
Yeah,
mind fuck. I don't mean to curse. I
yeah, it
apologize.
is. No, but it
Yeah,
is, bro. Think about
you
it.
blow your
You're
mind.
right where your family came in
Yeah,
to this country, man. Not even
crazy.
that long ago, if you really think about it. That's
No,
not even,
no, it's
that's
not.
amazing,
Yeah,
bro. It's amazing. But all right, man. So clearly they were into the to looking good. They wanted to dress nice.
that's
And
something. Yep.
so along the way, man, people like this,
Oh, yes, yes.
people, you get these huge designers that pop up from the culture. Some of them
Mhm.
from over there, they're not
Yep.
necessarily here, but from
Mhm.
from the culture.
Mhm.
You got so many of them. I mean,
Yeah, you
to
can't even name it. Well,
in
so many.
endless names. What do you think, man, about as far as influence of style and fashion from
Yeah.
the Italian culture, man? What do
Yeah.
you?
I used to be very very prideful of that. Um, Probably as much as our food. I mean, and I used to fight for anything that you know I was at, especially as a youngster. You know, especially I dressed a lot at one point in my life. I dressed all the time. So I was big. I was pig-headed that way too. I only would buy Italian man clothing. Um, and I didn't have it. Didn't That doesn't mean it had to be Armani or Versace like we see today. It just it could have been that it was a non not the biggest name Italian designer at that time,
Mhm.
but that also meant I took it to the Italian tailor down the street to have the suit tailored the right way. I mean, it didn't end. I mean, it was out of control. I only drank Italian wine. I wouldn't drink French wine. It was crazy. It's crazy.
Oh
And
yeah,
people go,
man.
"Oh, Craig was this racist." No, I was, it's just that's how it
You're
was.
proud of it. You get into it.
Yeah,
You
what?
may like the
Yeah,
flavor, the
I
style.
swore that our olives were the best. I didn't want to hear nothing about Greek olive oil or Greek olives. I have so many friends that are Greek that I love,
Yeah.
and you get bullshit from that, back and forth. And a friend of mine, he was from Chile. He would tell me I had great, a lot of Italians in Chile. He would tell me number
Yeah.
one, but number two, they had great olive oil in Chile and a wine in Chile. I said, get out of here, wine, get out of here. Go. But anyway, with the Italian clothes, forget it. Yeah. And that can't honestly. I saw my dad that way and my grandfather that way. Not as much because now I'm talking like my dad going into seeing it. So it's in the early '70s. I'm old enough to understand it. Mid '70s, definitely by the late '70s, I really am understanding it. And it's crazy. Me and Timmy Irish were talking about this like last week, and he mentioned something to me that, and my dad used to take us. There's a place in Manhattan. It's called the Lower East Side, right? And it's called Delancey Street. Delancey Street's it's a popular name street. That's in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So I remember as kids, my dad used to take us to Delancey Street. Anybody that's watching this is from New York will know what I'm saying is accurate. Delancey Street was all Jewish owned, but what they had was you got great deal. My father wore Italian knit shirts. They were called Italian knits. I don't know what they call them anywhere else, but we knew them as knits. Um, and dress clothes. And me and Timmy Irish were talking about that. And he would say how he would go to Orchard Street, which is right off the Delancey Street. It's right there. It's all part of that area. Orchard Street, Delancey Street, Suffolk Street. Now, so I could go on. And it was just a shopping day. My father would take us from Queens. We were kids, so we'd get in the car. He'd go buy his knit shirts, his leather jackets, whatever, you know, the three-quarter leathers back then. I mean, crazy shit. Green pants, green knits, green shoes. Everything was matched. I mean, and so a lot of the shopping was done there, and they dealt with a lot of they would again Jewish store owners, but they dealt with a lot of the Italian made clothing,
Wow.
um, and that just like kind of carried on, became
Smart,
tradition.
man. I mean, they wanted to get into that.
Yeah,
That's where the money
yeah,
was, I'm sure.
and it's
People
crazy. Me
wanted
and
that
Timmy Irish,
style.
yeah, me and Timmy Irish, talking about this the other day, and it just came up, and we never had that conversation before. And something came up about Delancey Street Orchard, and we started talking about the knits and the hats that I was just talking around with you with,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's where you went for leather jackets, fur coats for your lady or whatever. But when it came to that coat, a lot of the old timers would go to Delancey Street, or and then later on, there was other places. But I remember as a kid piling in the car, got to go to Delancey Street. He had to get his knits for the winter, whether it was long sleeves, summer short sleeves, because they went with certain slacks, and so you watched a certain thing growing up a certain way, and that became your way, I guess, because you look up to your dad or whatever it was.
Right.
And so that carried on, and then all the big names, and then it became, I think this generation more so. Now I'm not going to say I wasn't somebody that, uh, yes, there was a point where certain things are, name brand. Yeah, I want the name brand. Like I'm a sunglass guy, so and I am big with like I do like Versace, Gucci. I do like certain sunglasses from certain companies. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still that way with sunglasses. It's crazy.
Gotcha.
Um, and I don't care. I should care. But like to me, I won't any number. We can use any number. Let's just say $200, and they cost a lot more than that. But I would rather spend that on sunglasses than, and I lose sunglasses. My wife says I shouldn't spend $1 on any glasses because I lose everything. You're
Yeah.
right, but so like I remember my dad telling me a story, not about sunglasses. He was with my grandfather. My grandfather was buying a suit or something, and it went to a new place or something, and the gentleman said to my grandfather, my grandfather said something about let me see that suit or whatever it was. It was a suit. I remember that. Let me see that. Uh, and before the guy said anything, he said to my grandfather, "Do you know how much that is?" And poof, the worst thing he could say. No, only because it's an insult.
It's
One,
an insult, man. If you're
right?
if you
And
tell
my
somebody
grandfather,
that, yeah, I
yeah,
don't care
and
who
he
you
said,
are. That's an
that
insult.
rack over there, how much they start at or whatever it is, how much that
Right.
suits go for over there. And my grandfather said, first of all, I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you that. And then it got a little, from what I understood, it got a little,
It gets
and
bad from there. Well,
yeah,
yeah,
well,
I wouldn't even want to
but
buy
it was
nothing
just
from him at
he
that point.
told my father, let's go.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to spend my money there,
Let's
man.
go. I wouldn't give him 10 cents.
Exactly.
And my father used to tell me, my grandfather, not so much my father. My grandfather was that kind of guy that, like, you could have Armani here, right? And it's $1,000. Just say $500. Just use that $500 suit back then, right? Armani. I'm just using that name. And you could have Frankie's, and the guy is telling you, the tailor, Joe, I'm telling you, it is the same exact suit. They're using the same linen, same stitching. Everything is the same blend. Everything is the same. It just doesn't have the Armani tag. That's why this is 300. That's why this is 700. My grandfather would say, "I'll take the Armani."
That's how it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
he
people
was
like that,
right.
bro. That's how
No,
it
no,
is, man.
he had no. That was him. You know, at at one time, when I was younger, I probably would have thought that way. No, now wait a minute, you're telling me, and if I trusted you, I take your word for it, and after a while, you start to know calling or whatever you think, you feel it, you can, yeah,
Hmm.
it makes sense,
Right.
and I know I've been doing business with this guy a long time. Why would he bullshit me? You know what? You're right. I like how it feels. I like it. You know what? Give me. You know what? Wait a
Give
minute.
me
I can get.
Frankie's.
I can get two. You know what? Give me two of the
Give
Frankies.
me
Fuck
two
him.
Frankie's.
Right,
I got
exactly.
something for our
Yeah,
money.
exactly. Hey, tell him to take that. Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
No, man,
But
that
you,
makes
you know,
sense.
but people are set in their ways, and I guess that's what it comes down to. And
That's right,
especially,
man. Yeah.
clothing, man. Get it, clothing. Oof.
It's like that with food too, man. Think about it. Some people like if you could
Oh,
say this brand is this much, but if you
yeah.
buy this brand here, it's going to cost you
Oh,
10 more
sure.
bucks. And I don't give you buy that
Yeah,
brand,
yeah,
I don't care.
yeah,
That's just how
yeah.
people, same with cheese or
Sure.
meats or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's it
yeah,
that's just how some
yeah.
people, and
It's
sometimes
true.
you're right. Sometimes that is
Yeah,
better. But
yeah,
sometimes if you like you say if you trust the
yeah.
person,
Hey, right. Just do your homework. You know what I mean. And if you trust the guy
right,
you're dealing with, you've been dealing with for a while.
right.
Uh, why not listen if he's telling you? I'm telling you, it's the same thing. You're paying for the name.
Wow.
It's going to
Yeah.
wear well. It's going to look as good. I'm telling you. And the guy knows his business. you shouldn't take his advice. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
But
man.
some of the old times are hard headed, man. I mean, I guess we have our ways set in our ways. Look, you're an avid you're a protector. You're a guy that goes by the amendment, man. You
Yeah.
have the right to bear arms. So am
Sure.
I. There's some in the state that we're
Sure.
fighting for it now, and things are
I hope
opening
y'all
up
get
now.
it, bro.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, hopefully, and I don't mean to go that way, but what I'm saying is, you're somebody that could, and I plan on leaning on. That's a fact. But you're somebody, forget watching your videos. There's somebody. No, people should watch your videos. But what I mean by, like, you're somebody that when you could recommend things to people like Craig. I suggest your first concealed carry, knowing my style
Sure.
or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
suggest this is something you should. So people need to listen to people like you because you know why? That's your area of, besides boxing
Gotcha.
training and other things.
Right.
Right, that's your area. We should be reaching out to
Sure.
people like you. What do you think, Mike? What do you think about this? Because you know what? Craig Gatto never carried a gun legally. Because you know what? We could strike that from the record. But I'm saying I was never allowed to conceal carry. But you know what I mean. But you're stricken from the record.
That ain't we
Get that out of here. You're out of here. You're out of here.
it's gone, bro.
No, but
That's funny.
like you could recommend. I
No, I
suggest you
got
do
you,
this.
bro.
You
Yeah.
do.
No,
I
but that
suggest
makes sense. That's across the board, like
right,
you said, man.
right.
If you got a guy who you trust in suits
Yes,
or whatever, and he tells you,
yes.
"Hey, this is
Whatever
the same
it
thing,"
is. Yeah,
go with that.
absolutely,
Makes sense, man.
absolutely,
Makes sense.
absolutely. Right.
100%, man. That's great. Hey, we'll talk a little bit about architecture a little bit, man. Do you think it was just something they picked up from over there, man? I mean, like as far as like you got Michelangelo, you got the Sistine Chapel, you've got all these beautiful churches that were designed there. That's just amazing. That people flock from other places to go to these places and see. Um, what do you think, man?
I just think it's at what point do we have to be ashamed, or is it wrong for us to say, you know what? They were just talented people that were survivors. And
Right.
whatever had to be done, because there was nobody else, they could either A, do it, or they had to learn how to do it. They made it happen. And then they
Right.
got great at it. Now, there's certain talents you're just blessed. Yeah, look, talent is talent. You're blessed with it. I don't care what it is. But there's levels, like we talk about in MMA. There's levels to everything, right? Boxing, there's levels to everything, right? There's levels to marksmanship, right, Mike?
Of
Right?
course. Of
Right.
course.
So there's levels, right? Um, so why is it, when you think about it, why is it food, clothing, architecture? I mean, we built New York City,
Right.
built it. Now, yes, the Irish, of course, there was other immigrant groups that played
Sure.
their part, but
Sure.
they'd be the first ones to tell you too. Right alongside the Irish immigrant was 10 Italians with the bricks in their hands. The same, you know what I mean? So
Sure, man. Sure.
this city was built on immigrants. And as far as like the style and fashion, where does everybody go? Hey, I know
Look
that
at that
guy.
guy, man. Sharp, man.
I told you that's a rented suit. I had to have that
Get
guy.
out of
But
here, man. Look
no,
at that suit,
yeah,
bro.
those were one. Those were
Listen,
one of the years where the guy didn't say to me. He didn't
Hollywood.
say to me. By the way, that suit. Do you know how much that is? Because those years I might have threw him through the window. But anyway, no, he didn't.
That's Hollywood ghetto right there, man. Look at
Yeah, it's
that suit,
Hollywood
bro.
Front. Yeah, that's it.
I,
Yeah, but no, but again, I watched a certain, so I believe that, plus, that was the suit, that was the part of the outfit for that time,
right,
in my
right.
life. And
Look at that,
they
man.
used to call me, they used to break my chops and call me Castro, because they said I was flashy,
Is
I
that
didn't mind.
right?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
sharp, man. That is
yeah,
sharp,
call me
bro.
Castro.
Look at it,
Well,
man. Look at that
yeah,
dude swole too, man. That dude's
yeah,
getting swole, man.
that's how he cared about himself back then. Well, you're young, you got a full head of hair, you know what I mean?
Right, 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 man. Shoot, hey, man. I mean, no,
Uh,
but
I
I
was
think
an
that's
athlete. I had to take care of myself.
Of course, man. Of course. And I
But there's
mean,
no need, no reason why I can't now. It's just I have my friend. You said my friend Freddie Libatori, he was a boxer and
right.
trainer. You knew some of Freddie's opponents and whatnot.
Yes,
Freddie
yes.
calls me every day. He's out in Vegas right now. I speak to Freddie all the time. He lives here, but he does a lot of work on the road. So whenever he calls me, he's always breaking my chops. You go to the gym yet? You started the gym yet? So whenever he calls me, I go, hold on, 59, 60,
Exactly.
61, 62. And I just get him laughing. He goes, you son of a bitch, I'm going to be home in a couple of weeks. We're going to go for coffee, and you're really going to have to do whatever you're saying. You're saying 70? You're going to have to do 70 push-ups. You better get an oxygen tank.
You better be ready to knock out 70,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
But
man,
yeah, no, I think I think I just think their refusal to quit and like anything, just I don't know this, but I'm going to learn how to be the best bricklayer. I don't want to just be good. I want to be great. I'm
right,
going to learn. I'm an architect. You know what? I want to be the best architect. I just didn't apply to Italians. It's just look. Let's face it.
right,
We put a stamp in this country, all over this country, in many areas. I said, no, don't people don't get upset at me because Gatto and Mike saying that. No, it's
right, right,
facts. We're speaking
right,
facts. We're not bullshitting. It's
right,
facts. So why
right.
why do we have to run from that and be ashamed of that? No,
That's right.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And every group has to find something that they can hang their hat on. Why should we feel bad that our heritage has more than one? You know,
Sure.
why is there a fashion show in Milan every year that's the biggest? Why? Now, I'm not taking away from the French. They're leaders in
No, man. No,
fashion.
man. But you know what?
Right.
I think they would be the first to bounce and say that
Well,
their stuff is great,
right.
and guess what? That they should be proud of whatever contributions.
Yeah.
But like you said, man, we should too, man. We should. You know, it's
Yeah.
not always just this. I guess, like we said from the beginning, man. The point of doing these shows was to
Yeah.
talk about some positive stuff
Yeah.
of our
Outside all
culture
that
and
bullshit,
tradition, man.
negative stuff.
Right.
Exactly right.
Listen, man,
Exactly right.
every group, every culture has guys that do
Absolutely.
that stuff in different ways, different,
And
you
they
know.
could hang their
We may have
hat
been
and
the
they
best at that, but
right. What right. No, no. I
no,
mean, come
but you
on.
know,
We want. Listen, I'll say it for what it is. I used to break, I break. I could break balls with the best of them. If I wanted pastries, I wasn't going. I wasn't going to the Jewish deli to get pastries. No, I went to the Jewish deli to get pastrami or corned beef, or
there you
hot
go.
dog or
Right.
knish. I want pastries. I know where I'm going.
Right, right, right.
Right?
No, man. Have you ever seen Sebastian Maniscalco's talk about
Oh,
that? Oh man, it's hilarious because
you
his
know what?
wife's
It's funny you
half
say
Jewish, half
yeah, Jewish, yes. And he said
yeah.
they have the worst. He's brutal. They
He
have
goes,
the great.
what? He's
They have the
hilarious.
worst culinary ever.
He
What
goes,
do they
he
have?
goes. They
After
what are they
breakfast
bringing
at
for
lunch.
you? He goes, it was the holidays. He goes, what? When are they bringing out some food?
I'm gonna,
Oh man,
I know you're gonna. I'm gonna. It's funny you say this, like, because I just finished saying I'm not that way anymore. But there's certain things like that. Like I'm not. I used to be a crazed cologne guy. Like when I say crazed cologne guy, I always made sure I had a few bottles of.
yeah.
But to this day, I buy cologne. There's only one cologne I buy. One.
All right, man. We're back here. This was an impromptu cologne session, bro. Now this is
Yes,
out of
you're right. It's
we didn't.
cologne.
Hey, we didn't listen, man. We did not rehearse this or
No,
talk
we
about
go
this.
wherever it takes us.
Tell me what you got there, bro. Tell me
All
what you
right.
got.
I just finished saying I'm not that way anymore, but my wife will tell you, my sons will tell you, like, 'cause they say, come on, but yet they all love this. This is a Versace Man, is a Versace Blue, but it's Versace Man, I think is what it's called. I just know it as the Versace Blue bottle. They know,
The
like my
blue
wife will
bottle. All right.
give me the blue.
So you ready? Let me
For
show you
years,
what I
my
grabbed.
yeah, what you drink? Like
No,
grab
no,
the
no. Keep
cologne?
going, man. I see. You ready? What I grabbed, man?
I'll only get. What is it?
The Versace red, bro. The arrow, man. Look at that, man. You think I'm BSing, bro?
All right, now here we go. Here we go. Let's do this again. How
Listen.
many times have I said that's awesome? I love it. I love it. By the way, I never smelt the red. Have you ever
Oh
smelt the
man.
blue?
I have, and it's good. And
You,
I thought
you
about
like,
getting both.
I got
Yes.
to. You know what? For you, the next time you're going to see me holding a red, bud. I
It's
can't
called
believe it.
Arrows Flame, man.
I love
Arrows
it.
Flame, man.
And you know what's
This is
crazy? Here it is, 11 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going nowhere. I just sprayed some on.
Hell yeah, you smelling good, man. You feel good,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. My wife used to say to me actually all the time, like she'd say, "You're the only guy I know." Like I get out of the shower, get ready to go to bed. You're the only guy I know that puts deodorant on before he goes to bed.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But my now here we go. I'm gonna say this again. I've said it so many times in this little series we're doing, and I use 1,800 miles apart. I don't know how many miles we really truly are apart. Probably
Right.
somewhere like that.
At least. Yeah.
Right. Here we are. All of these, this distance between us, and all of these crazy, the names, the similarities that pop up. Here I pull out my go-to Versace, and what do you pull out? Versace's brother, red.
Hey man, this is the Sicilian
You
Versace,
can't
bro.
make it
You
up.
got
Yeah,
the
this is another guy one.
you got
Yeah.
the right. Hey man, that's all.
Can't
You know
make it
what, man?
up.
We
Folks,
listen,
you can't make this up.
bro. We listen. I don't even want to go any. This is where we're stopping
No, this is
because it
beautiful.
don't
It's
get better
precious.
than this, bro. It don't
No,
get better.
I
This is
think
the
we should
best
end it
ending,
on
man.
this. Yeah.
Hey man, we
And
go.
we got more to do.
We
You got
got
a lot of
plenty, man.
editing.
We got.
I
Hey,
love it.
listen, bro. Next,
Priceless.
listen, man. Who? Come on, man. Shit. That
I
you
mean, I
think?
could have pulled out David off Cool Waters, but no, this is mine. This is it, and that's yours.
That's. I'm
That's
telling
crazy.
you, farthest south, farthest north, almost, and we got the
Yeah,
same. That's crazy,
a
man.
lot of
Hey,
things. That's what I said. A lot of things are
right.
the same. That's how far apart we are, buddy.
That's it,
Starting
man.
from the old country here.
So,
Yep.
hey, man, been great again, Craig.
Always,
I
always,
think
my
next time,
pleasure.
man, we're gonna go into let's go into some more cooking and pizza, man.
Absolutely, it's endless,
Uh,
bro.
there was one more goofy picture, man, that I didn't pull up, man. Of look at this, man. This
Yo,
guy's in
that
there.
guy's
That guy's in
who?
there
That
cooking,
guy,
man.
yeah, that guy better go to the gym. What's wrong with that guy? He's on a wretched. That guy needs to get to the gym.
Holy crap,
What's the
man!
matter with him?
I'm
I
telling
love
you,
it,
man.
bro.
Hey,
I love
man.
you, man.
Thank you, Craig. Love you, bro, man. I
Always a
appreciate you being
pleasure.
part of this.
Great stuff.
We're
Always.
gonna do pizza
Always.
next time and talk
Absolutely.
about
Whatever you
different
want to do.
styles from
I'm in.
everywhere, man. Awesome,
And
man.
who knows how many more surprises we'll have
I'm
in
telling you,
coming.
man. I'm
It's a
telling you,
great
man.
one. We're going to be talking about this for a while, the Versace.
Because it's out of nowhere, man. It's out
Holy
of
gods.
nowhere.
Uncle Louie.
Louis and every right, Joe.
Unbelievable.
Appreciate
I like
everybody.
you,
Like,
brother.
subscribe, all that stuff,
Always.
man. Thank you.